What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a bit since I have done a video, so I appreciate you guys all sticking around and watching the videos. So, first of all, don't worry about this big old thing back here hiding. That's the exciting part. We'll get to that in a minute. So over the last month or so, we haven't done a whole lot on Lizzy. If you watched the last video, you saw that we were doing some exhaust work, and I was planning on modifying it a little further, which I did to a point. That kind of snowballed into replacing the driver's side exhaust manifold, which was a huge pain in the butt, and I hope I never have to do it again. Not a fun job. I didn't film it because it was been a pain to film and honestly not exciting content at all. At least that was my thinking. And so I got that done. The car's been running great. It's been driving great. I've been having fun with it. So I really haven't had much to film. And so I kind of want to give an explanation where I'm at with the channel, with the car, and kind of plans going ahead. So I apologize for all the talking. If you're here to see stuff getting done, probably not going to happen a whole lot in this video, but we'll get to that. So kind of the biggest thing is, right now it's a little tough for me doing YouTube, just because so far I have yet to make any money doing YouTube. It's simply because I enjoy doing it. My channel's not big enough. I don't make any money off of doing this. The goal is not to get rich off of doing this, but I would like to make at least a little bit of money, hopefully in the future. So if you aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe, and you know, as the typical YouTuber thing. But without anything to film on the car, got me thinking, you know, what do I want to do with the car going forward? Because just leaving it alone, first of all, it's not really what I do. I can never really leave anything alone for too long. And the other thing is, I like power. I like fast stuff. And Lizzy drives great, and power is not horrible. For what it has with a stock 4.6, she does okay. And give a little backstory on my previous projects. My last one was, and you may or may not have been familiar with the truck, its name was Vader. It was a 1988 Dodge D100 that I had for a long time. Went through some different engine combos. In the end, it was a turbo LS setup that made 600 horse, just under 600 horse to the wheels on pump gas. Extremely fun, extremely fast truck. But I did sell the truck a while ago, and the big thing with that was it kind of ruined it for me as far as horsepower. You know, 600 horse to the wheels in a 4,000-pound truck, it's fast. And so I was thinking for Lizzy, you know, I enjoy doing engine swaps. What could we do to make Lizzy fast? And as you guys know, I'm not a purist at all. So that had me thinking about, you know, what engine could we put in Lizzy that, one, is on a budget, because I am very much on a budget for doing stuff. I do everything that I can myself. But, you know, it's just adult things, house payments, and everything else. There's just not always a lot of extra money. And so, you know, I couldn't go with anything too exotic, too expensive. And that's just not really my style either. And so I think I considered about any engine combination that you could think of for doing this. And I had some requirements. One, being on a budget. Two, we need to make some decent horsepower. You know, I might be happy with 400 horse in some stuff for a while, but eventually that's going to get boring and I need more power. So we're going to shoot for, you know, 6 to 650 at the wheels. So that kind of cut out a bunch of engine stuff. So this is going to be kind of long-winded. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I considered supercharging the stock 4.6. You can make 400 horse, but most supercharger kits are, bottom end $3,000 or $4,000 for doing that. To make 400 horse, not sure. And I'm not necessarily in love with the 4.6 either. I had thought, if you're keeping it Ford, if you guys are Ford fans, you said you should have went with a 5.0 Coyote. I think that would be cool. A 5.0 with like a 6-speed auto would be really fun because the car definitely needs to stay automatic. A 5.0 Coyote makes, 425 horse at the crank, so, probably under 400, maybe 400 at the wheels. And for the cost of what the engine and transmissions and computers and harnesses are going for, that's definitely a little on the expensive side for me. So I thought about like a 32 valve 4.6 out of a Mark 8 or a Cobra. Same time, 300 horse, naturally aspirated, so not a huge amount there. So Ford, horsepower-wise, those kind of the main things I thought of. Obviously, can't afford something like a 7.3 Godzilla. That is just way out of my price range. I thought about even going Dodge. Dodge body could match with a Dodge engine. Maybe a Gen 3 Hemi could be a cool option, which I had considered that for a while. You could go with a 5.7. You could go with a 6.1. I wasn't really too interested in those. I had seriously considered a later 6.4 Hemi with an 8-speed automatic, like an 8 HP 70. Thought, those are 485 horse at the crank. That could be a really fun, especially with the 8-speed auto. Downside, once again, was cost. Used engine transmission combos I found for $5,000-ish. I'm sure you could find them less if you shop around. Plus at least a couple grand for computer and engine harness, especially ones that control the 8-speed, definitely put it up in price. So once again, starting to get out of my price range pretty quick. And obviously, something like a Hellcat motor, way out of my price range, though it would be sweet. So, Mopar, that was really kind of the only engines that I was interested in there. And I considered some really off-the-wall stuff like a 12-valve Cummins. I've had some experience with those. Awesome engines. I did some measuring, and it wasn't going to fit in the space that I have. My radiator and stuff just can't be moved farther forward. And so, unfortunately, that kind of put a Cummins out, because that would have been cool. I considered a Duramax swap. But obviously, Cummins and Duramaxes, 1,000-pound engines. Plus a Duramax, you have to pay for a standalone harness, computer, and everything like that. And so I wasn't quite sure that's the vibe I wanted to go for in the car. So it's like, what else could we go through? And if you guys are thinking ahead, some of you may be groaning already. It's like, please don't do a Chevy motor. Please don't do an LS. I get it. If you're not an LS fan, that's totally fine. If you want to unsubscribe now, that's cool. I get it. But the thing is, for me, I really like the LS platform. I know it's been done in every variation you can think of. It's been done a ton, but there is good reason for that. That's the engine I have the most experience with. I've been a part of doing a couple of them. And especially boosted ones, whether that be supercharging or turbo, you make excellent power for definitely on a budget, and have it reliable too, as I had found with my previous truck. Previous truck was a 5.3 stock bottom end, 80mm turbo, a built turbo 400 Ford 9-inch, nothing exotic, but it was fun. It made good power. So that leads me to what is sitting back here. So yeah, I'm not really that into drama. So I'm just going to show you guys what I got. I wish I could say, you know, this is a box. I've got a shiny new motor from Texas Speed or something like that. But, yep, the budget's not there for anything like that. So it was a trip to my local junkyard. But I did find what I want. So let me show you guys. All right, without further ado, we have the new power plant for Lizzy. Woo! Look at that gem. It's just so pretty and shiny. No, it's not at all. It honestly looks like kind of a turd. However, I will assure you this is a diamond in the rough. So, it is a 2005 6-liter LQ4 from an 05 Chevy 2500 that was wrecked in the junkyard. No idea how many miles are on it. The cluster was gone out of the truck. But it's an 05. It is currently drive-by-wire. I'm not sure if we'll be sticking with drive-by-wire or going drive-by-cable. So, if you are really familiar with LSs, you'll see some advantages, especially being an 05. So this is a Gen 3 6.0 in wiring and everything, not later Gen 4. However, 04 to 06 in 5.3s, 6.0s, and I think even 4.8s have Gen 4 rods. I think pistons are still the same, but at least the Gen 4 rods, which are considerably stronger than regular Gen 3 stuff, and they hold up really well to boost. So yeah, I picked this up from the junkyard. With tax, it was just under $600, so not bad at all. So in my price range for engine-wise. And I'm not going to go into this video on my entire plans for everything just because it's going to get super long. But yeah, so that's another story on, you know, what do we now do with the LS? Do we stay naturally aspirated? Obviously, we can't make enough power that way. We could go supercharged, or we could go turbo. And I may get into some of the options of what you can do on supercharging. I'm familiar with, you know, doing LSA superchargers. You can go a Pro Charger. You can go Vortec. You can go Torque Storm. You can go, there's a company called Demuse Engineering that makes an adapter plate and intercooler brick that bolts onto LSs and allows you to use like an M122 supercharger off of a GT500, which I'd seriously considered, and I'm not saying that's not off the table yet, because that would be cool. A little more oddball, not quite as much done, and you could still make good power on it. Richard Holdner had done that on a 5.3 and made 700 horse to the crank on one of these. So that would be cool. They can make good power. It gets a little pricey unless you can find the supercharger super cheap. So you can pretty easily get $3,000 in doing that. But who knows? That could potentially be an option that's just a little out of my price range. You can use the M122 superchargers off of a Cadillac STS-V. There's companies that make adapters for those. They came on North Stars. But once again, by the time you get superchargers and adapters and everything, gets kind of expensive. More than likely, we'll just end up going turbo on this one as well. I'm familiar with doing it and what needs to go into doing that. More likely, that's what we'll do. So, yeah, I'll just walk around the engine a little bit. If nothing else, just so we have a before shot. It is quite crusty and dirty. It does not look like much at all right now. I did do some checking in the junkyard. It turns over freely. I popped the valve covers off. It actually looked quite clean. Pulled a couple of spark plugs. They looked good. So I'm hoping this is actually a good motor. Does it run? I have no idea. Is it good internally? I have no idea. So you guys are going to be along for the journey for that one. Hopefully when we pull this thing apart, we don't find anything major. So far, I haven't seen anything, but cross your fingers on that one. So yeah, that's what we've got. That's the future engine for Lizzy. I'll probably wait to the next video or at least some point in the future, to go into transmission, wiring harness, and everything else that goes into the swap. I don't want to spoil everything just yet. And the other thing is, as well, this is going to take me a while. Even doing it on a budget, it does add up. I do want to put a few good parts in, or decent parts, just to make this thing live as long as I can. So it's a good winter project. So kind of the goal is to build my complete drivetrain before I ever pull Lizzy apart. That way I can keep driving her in the meantime, and we don't have her tore down so long. And so yeah, that's kind of the goal. It is going to take me a while just to, as I have extra money to do this. So yeah. All right, so if you've actually stuck along through that long of a rant, I'll be amazed. So I'm going to reward you. We're actually going to do a little bit of work just because I'm impatient. I can't help myself. And we're going to start pulling off some of this stuff that's going to be put on the shelf. Some stuff we can just plain pitch because we know we're not going to use. The engine cover might get used, so we'll put that on the shelf. All right, so we know we are not going to be using the stock wiring, so I'm going to start by unplugging all the wiring. A lot of it's cut already, so it'll be like injector plugs, the coils. The other nice thing about LS is if you have not worked on one, they are very, very easy to work on. Pretty well everything is O-ringed. They use just a couple of sizes of nuts and bolts, which is nice. It's all metric. And yeah, they're super simple. Because I'm not that smart of a guy, and even I can work on them, so all good there. All right, so that's a 10 millimeter. that AC compressor, which we are keeping AC, 100%. That is definitely something that will be kept. I am going to just cut the wiring going to some of the AC stuff, just because I'm not sure how that's going to be connected up. And I don't know if we'll need to tie in the stock pigtails or how that works, but we'll figure it out. So we're just going to cut that down here. That should give us plenty. So, all right. All right, so there is what was left of the wiring, all pulled off. So now the engine is definitely looking a little simpler. And so I'm going to pull some of the power steering hoses off. Radiator hose I'll probably save for the time being. Unlikely we'll use it, but we'll see. We've got some coolant hoses over here. We're just going to disconnect those. We won't be using those. And we'll probably get the intake pulled off. Actually, you know what? The engine's filthy. I'll probably leave the intake on for now. And then we will clean and power wash this thing. Give us a little better idea of what we're working with. We'll pop the exhaust manifolds off, and so far I'm not seeing any broken ones, which is kind of amazing. So we will make sure to use penetrating oil on those before we try to crack them loose. The engine mounts are still on, so we'll pop those off. And yeah, my brother has a fan clutch tool, which we may have to borrow in order to get that one off, because we will not be using the mechanical fan. So, yeah, getting a few more of these things pulled off. And, yeah, that'll probably be all the work I will get to tonight. So, we'll see. Alright, we are back. So, disassembly continues. So, I wasn't able to get my clutch fan off. However, like I mentioned, we are not using the mechanical fan, and we will be replacing the water pump as well. So I'm just going to completely remove this as an assembly. I've already got my bolts loosed. We'll see if any coolant pours out. Alright, so we got our water pump off. The coolant passages actually look pretty good, which is nice. They look decently clean. And so next I'm going to work on pulling the AC compressor. I think... Ooh, does it turn? Oh, that part turns. A little noisy. We'll see. Alright. I'm also kind of debating how much do I want to pull apart before I want to clean and power wash this thing. So that's why I'm leaving the intake on and probably the exhaust manifolds, and I'm not sure about the compressor. The compressor I may pull off. Maybe I'll leave it on. I'm not sure. We'll decide. Alright, so we got the engine outside here, and we are going to start by giving this thing a good cleaning. It'll make it a lot nicer in the future for working on this thing. It's not a lot of fun when you're unbolting stuff and you have dirt and rust and crap falling on you. So it's pretty filthy. We've got leaves, there's dirt and grime and oil and rust on this thing. Give you a nice before shot. This is going to be fun to clean. So obviously there's different ways you could do this. What I'm going to do, I've done this before, and you can definitely, there are more mild methods, but oven cleaner does a really good job of getting especially the heavy stuff off. Now obviously use at your own risk. It is pretty strong stuff smelling, and you really don't want to get it on your skin, so be careful if you are using this method. So I'm going to spray this on, let it sit for a bit, and then we've got the pressure washer hooked up, and we'll spray it off and see how that does, and might even have to do a couple rounds of it. We'll see. All right. Got my gloves on. Let that sit and soak a little bit. Alright, so I went a couple more rounds of cleaning. I took a Scotch-Brite and some Purple Power, did a little bit of scrubbing, did another round of the oven cleaner, and then dried it off, and it already looks a whole lot better. Might be a little hard to tell on camera, but it actually cleaned up quite well. I'm happy with it. Especially the aluminum parts. Definitely a little shinier. So now we have a good place to start with. So I'm going to now keep working on disassembly. Now that we have it mostly clean, I'm going to pull the intake off because I'm sure there's still some dirt hiding underneath that. And we'll pop our exhaust manifolds off. And I'll have to get a puller. I think my brother's got a puller, so we'll get a puller and then pull the pulley off. That might be in the next video. We'll see. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm glad we took this step. It's going to make it a lot nicer to work on. So, all right, so we've got a bunch of 8mm bolts to take out.
Right. Disconnect the hose here. And let's see, anything else? It's back here. Alright. Oh yeah, some good stuff hiding down there still. I figured there would be. Let's pull it from there.
Oh, yep, good bit of junk hiding in there. We even got some Christmas tree bulbs. For some reason, there was a string of Christmas lights. Christmas lights is what I meant. There was a string of Christmas lights on this engine, so that's fun. All right, well, working on the engine on Saturday didn't quite end up like I was planning. I had a little accident. As you can see, the engine is on the floor. And this happened literally 100% out of my own stupidity and me not thinking ahead. So, long story short, I was working on drilling out the exhaust stud bolt, and I dropped a little piece into, let me show you, into one of the openings right there. And if I'd have thought a little farther ahead, I wouldn't have done this. I took my jack and went to jack up right back there. That way I could swing the leg up out of the way and hopefully drop the little piece I was working with. And obviously that did not support it. The engine tipped over and unfortunately landed mostly on me. So it banged me up a bit. It scraped up my leg and arm and poked a nice little hole in my arm. So it was a bit painful for a bit. Yeah, not a real fun experience. So this was a lesson for me, just to be extra careful and try to think a little farther ahead when I do things or stupid stuff like this ends up. So thankfully I'm okay, I'm healing up okay, and I think the engine's okay as well. We're going to stand this thing back up in a little bit. We got the tractor down here, and so hopefully we can assess the damage then. Hopefully there isn't any, but we'll see. So, hey, stuff happens. All right, well, we are back in business. We got the engine stood back up. I got my oil mess all cleaned up. Thankfully, damage is very, very minimal. It bent up the dipstick tube a little bit, which is not a big deal. Probably should have been replaced anyway. It did mess up the threads a little bit on one of these screws going into the valve cover. That's also not a big deal at all. Probably the main thing is it definitely messed up the pulley right here some. So I may have to either get a new one or find another used one, probably to be on the safe side. So I really think that's about it. So really not bad at all. Pretty happy with that. So, yep. All right, guys, I am going to wrap this episode up with that. I'm really happy with the progress that we made in this episode. The next video, I'm going to continue tearing this thing down, get the crank pulley pulled off, probably get the heads pulled off, and keep prepping this thing for boost. I have some parts on order already. I have a couple tools on order. So we're probably going to be working on gapping rings. Probably in the next video, we'll see. So I'm super excited for this project. I'm happy to have something to film again, have a clear goal for something to work towards. So hopefully you guys are excited as well. Even if you're not an LS fan, hopefully you'll keep following along. So as always, thanks guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.